Now, on Full Force Nature. See one of the worst natural disasters in American history send storm chasers running from Hurricane Katrina. In the Kansas plains, a vicious tornado erupts out of nowhere in the blink of an eye. El Nino-influenced storms slam the California coast, destroying dozens of homes. A foggy day in Southern California breaks into utter chaos. And a family in eye-ofthe, Kansas is struck by a devastating tornado twice in one day. Extreme weather, told by the people who survived. Right now on Full Force Nature. Full Force Nature. Sometimes there's no escape. Other times there's no turning away. When Hurricane Katrina slams into the Gulf Coast states in August of 2005, veteran storm chasers Jim Reed and Mike Tice are in Gulfport, Mississippi to film its awesome power.
When I first got to Gulfport, the weather was actually very nice. The outer bands were not quite there yet. Within hours, the outer bands came in and it started to deteriorate quite rapidly within a couple hours after I got there.
Jim and Mike are out on the roads when the ocean waters start pushing on shore.
Comes some surge. Surge is coming over the road. This is Highway 90.
With the weather in Gulfport, Mississippi deteriorating quickly, they escape to a hotel just ahead of the rapidly rising waters.
The surge is already coming up to the hotel here. Well, there's the Gulf of Mexico right there, coming into our parking lot.
The surge doesn't stop there. It pushes the seawater right into the hotel lobby.
We got a big wall of water coming right now. Storm surge.
When I was documenting the surge coming through the front doors, I knew any moment those doors were probably about to just shatter and instantly, and it would have become very dangerous.
Oh, hear it? It's getting ready to break, guys. That is about to bust in quick.
The doors are no match for the ferocious surge. It rips apart the lobby of the hotel in a matter of minutes.
Well, we're in the lobby here of our hotel. We're completely underwater in this first store here. There's chairs floating by.
Along with the rising waters comes an unexpected sight.
Probably one of the eeriest moments of the entire Hurricane Katrina chase was when the car came through the lobby. Doors are breaking. Yeah, get ready, guys. Get ready, guys. Get ready.
A car crashes through the hotel's front door.
We got a car in our lobby here.
If I would have stayed in the lobby when the car came through, yeah, I would have been run right over. It was like a battering ram. It just, every wave, it came in further and further.
Here comes a big wave, dude. Stand by.
The men are forced to climb ahead of the rapidly rising water.
All right, we're currently on the second floor. The surge is already coming up the stairwell here. We have 5 flights to go up if we need to.
The first floor of the hotel, the entire first floor is underwater.
It was really wild how these big waves came crashing into the stairwell.
Hurricane Katrina, Gulfport, Mississippi, August 29, 2005. It has gutted the hotel.
As the storm passes and the floodwaters recede, what's left in Katrina's wake is pure devastation.
This lobby is completely destroyed.
When I finally decided to leave the hotel when the surge subsided and I walked around the Gulfport area, it was breathtaking. I mean, buildings were completely destroyed, concrete structures were just demolished, cars were upside down, just total devastation in the community.
Sometimes nature hides her power, only revealing it when it's too late. Near the town of Pretty Prairie, Kansas, storm chaser Jim Reed and his assistant Catherine Bay are preparing for the upcoming tornado season.
Jim and I decided to take a test run for the season, just kind of break in the equipment and break us in, you know, get us used to getting out and seeing how the vehicle was going to be running and everything.
Without any supercells in the area, they don't expect to find anything this day.
On the way through Pretty Prairie, I noticed a small area of rotation in the clouds, and I wasn't real sure exactly what it was. Jim noticed me looking at something. He decided to pull over and take a look at it.
In the distance, they see a small debris cloud and decide to go after it.
I'm going to say about a mile down the road, it hit a big dirt field and just kind of blew up.
Looking through the camera lens, Catherine thinks the circulation is further
I
away.
think it's going to cross the road.
Oh my God!
It's going to cross the road.
I didn't realize we were so close.
Yeah, we are. We are. Okay, it's land spout or gust NATO base. Just keep shooting. I think we've got a land spout.
When the circulating air moves over a grassy field, it becomes almost invisible.
I don't see it anymore. It went off into a green field and lost its structure look. You know, we couldn't really see it, and we thought maybe, well, that was it. And then we noticed condensation a little bit building on the ground and some rotation. So we decided, well, we'll go down to the next road and we'll wait for it to come over again and see what happens.
They continue the chase, expecting the gust NATO to die out soon. But this twister has no intention of going out quietly. Above them, a funnel can clearly be seen. But now, over a farmer's field, the vortex is hard to find.
It is still on the ground, and we still have a funnel at the top. Okay? Great.
Finally, they stop just 200 yards from the twister.
We're actually getting hit by some of the peripheral debris like leaves and grass and stuff, but the concentrated area of rotation on the ground or in contact with the ground is about 200 yards to our immediate east. You can see it spinning out there. It's got some dirt, and there's the funnel right above us here. Oh my God, you can hear it.
Jim?
Okay, I'm calling it in. I'm calling it in.
Okay, but we're kind of like in a bad spot.
It starts to move in a direction no one expected.
We're gonna back up. We're gonna back up.
We're a little too close.
Yep.
Be careful.
Oh, it's changing direction, damn it.
Is it coming
Keep rolling,
towards us?
keep rolling, keep rolling.
No idea where it went.
Suddenly, the twister erupts right where they'd stopped just seconds before. Dirt and debris are sent hundreds of feet in the air in a matter of seconds.
It just like expanded like 3 times as big as what we thought it was, and it covered the whole road, and you know, we couldn't see the house that it went by and everything because it just engulfed everything that was around it. And it's like an atomic bomb going off, and it's just so awesome to watch.
A state trooper is frozen in disbelief as the tornado appears to form out of nowhere.
I know the state trooper was probably scared out of his wits that day because he was, you know, I'm guessing he just kind of froze there since he didn't back up as quickly as we did.
For Jim Reed and Catherine Bay, it's a day they won't soon forget. A day when a surprise tornado showed itself when it was almost too late.
That was a close call, folks.
Coming up on Full Force Nature, sudden fog causes a major pileup on LA freeways. But first, cliffside dream homes crash onto the California coast during a violent storm. You're watching Full Force Nature. The devastating effects of nature can be felt around the world. Few know this more than residents along the California coast. Warm ocean waters thousands of miles away off South America can mean a soaking wet winter is on the way. The quiet town of Pacifica, California, is being battered by winds, waves, and rain in an El Nino season for the record books. Weeks of pounding rain saturates the hillsides, causing slides and erosion south of San Francisco. For Jane Tolini, it was a sign that her life was about to change.
Well, we were given a warning that this was going to be an El Nino year. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but some of the old timers on the block went, whoa, Nellie, we're in for a big one.
Waves from the warm Pacific storms attack a seaside cliff lined with homes.
I mean, the waves seemed harder, stronger, bigger, wetter, everything. They just got more and more intense.
For weeks, the raging ocean takes chunks of land out to the sea, while the cliff's edge grows closer to the houses above.
There are fissures in the sand cliffs, so when it started to rain, those fissures filled up with water, and chunk, 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 coming all the way down the cliff. It was happening everywhere. When it decided to take a giant bite, it undermined my house. My house was now sitting, here's the land, here's the house. There was no land under part of the house. I walked into my bedroom. If I had stepped out of the sliding glass door in my bedroom, I would have stepped into space. In the blink of an eye, it was gone. My house was on negative land. This was, Jane, wake up and smell the sand, you are going down. There was no fighting Mother Nature at that point. She was going to win, I realized it. The best I could hope for would be to get my stuff out of there, and I did.
Neighbors rush to evacuate their homes, but before most residents can remove all their belongings, local officials deem the homes unsafe to enter.
They were falling little pieces at a time, were starting to fall on the beach below, and it was a hazard. So on May 6th, I believe, they came out with bulldozers and were going to demolish all but 2 homes on the blocks.
In a town meeting, neighbors fight to save their dream homes, but it becomes clear that there's nothing to save.
When the little demolition guy got to my house, he put out his claw, he went to touch the corner of my house, and before he even touched it, the entire house committed suicide. It just lifted off its foundation like a Monopoly home and fell into the ocean.
One after another, the homes crash more than 75 feet down to the rocks and sand and are swept away.
The power of this earth is stronger than anything that man can build. And this is the biggest ocean in the world. You can't fight Mother Nature. She wanted it back, and she got what she wanted.
Coming up next on Full Force Nature, a thick fog turns the Los Angeles freeway into a massive pileup. Welcome back to Full Force Nature. Thankfully, most storms can be predicted by forecast, but there are times when extreme weather can bring your plans to a screeching halt. Los Angeles, California, a vast sun-kissed city tied together by its intricate network of freeways. But when heavy fog envelops a Long Beach freeway, a quiet Sunday morning in November begins to unravel.
We would have never expected the fog to come in, and I don't know how fast it came in, but it was there, and no one had even any warning of it.
A seemingly small 5-car pileup expands to bewildering proportions when visibility suddenly drops to 50 feet. It quickly becomes one of the largest chain reaction collisions in U.S. history.
first call comes in that I hear is we apparently have maybe 4, 5, 6 cars, and then other engines were starting to come on scene, and the numbers started going up a little higher and higher, and I was thinking, these guys making these numbers up, you know, 30, 40, 50, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the real thing. This is pretty serious. We're reaching over 100, and they're saying, well, the fog is so thick, we can't see where this begins or where it ends.
All response units rush to the scene and discover a devastating pileup with numbers still rising.
When I arrived on scene, I saw cars on top of cars, people trapped inside. We had semis up on the center divider. We had cars that were still colliding. I could hear them off in the distance, still crashing into each other. So it wasn't stopped when we were on scene. They just kept going and going for probably 10, 15 minutes continuously with cars still crashing because nobody's slowing down. They're still doing 65. There were people running all over the freeway. We had people trapped inside of their vehicles that needed extricating to have to be cut out. We had injured people everywhere.
The dense fog still covers the area. Rescue units realize they can barely keep up with all the accidents.
Right away, we had to get control of the situation, so we started breaking it down into divisions, North Division, South Division, extrication group. I had a recon group to go through the entire mile to see what we had, because I had no idea what the extent of this was. We started using the jaws to get people out. All the engine crews carry reciprocating saws, so they started cutting roofs off. And so we had to get a lot of people out of vehicles that were trapped inside. And plus, we started setting up our ambulance staging so we could start moving them from the scene to the hospitals where they can get more critical care.
Although 40 people were injured, amazingly, all drivers and passengers survived the accident.
There was 198 cars, and with all the wreckage and the carnage you had, there was amazing. There was no fatalities. It was just remarkable, thankfully, that no one was killed. The one thing I'd say is don't ever take Mother Nature for granted, because if you're not prepared for it and take it lightly, you'll pay for it.
When full force nature returns, a Kansas family is hit by a tornado twice in the same day. Welcome back to Full Force Nature. Tornadoes can destroy in an instant what a family spends a lifetime building. This storm is about to strike the same family not once, but twice in a matter of seconds. The place is Hiawatha, Kansas, on an afternoon in May. Jim Spicer is at work in his auto salvage yard a half-mile from his house.
I was pulling the windshield out in the middle of the car lot, is where I was at. And that's what I was doing when this came through.
Spicer looks up from his work in time to see the tornado slam into his family's two-story home.
I stood down at the other place and watched the garage be lifted up, spun around the house.
Oh, there goes the house. Oh, that.
Video shows the pieces of Jim Spicer's garage spinning around the family home. What's worse, Spicer has no idea his wife and 2 young granddaughters are there.
I had family up here and I did not know at the time. I seen it.
Oh, there goes the house.
Spicer can only hope his family has had time to go to the cellar. Now he has to worry about his own safety. The tornado is headed directly at him. As he scrambles for shelter, he witnesses the awesome beauty of nature at full force.
And at that time I took for cover, and there's a pond over here, and it hit that pond, took all the water out, and it was just like a waterfall. It was beautiful.
Spicer runs to the basement of his second home as the tornado bears down on them.
I went to the basement, and first thing I done was grab hold of one of the steel poles that was in the basement. And when the wind and the tornado come through, it picked up everything, and I had my hands gripped to the pole, and it just lifted me up, and when it dropped, I dropped with it.
Amazingly, though the Spicers' 2 homes are ravaged by this tornado, not a single person is injured. Both houses will later be declared total wrecks.
There's a living room in here. And when the storm was over, that hubcap, it was pounded in there like that. Come here, Brandy. Come on, baby.
The good fortune extends even to the Spicer's family dog, Brandy. When the tornado hits, she is outside, completely exposed to the storm's fury.
The dog was tied up here by a tree, which the tree was uprooted, and the dog had got loose somehow and come to me.
For days to come, Brandy will not leave her master's side, a loyal witness to the fury that took Jim Spicer's 2 homes but left his family intact.
We're just all lucky to be here, and we're holding our heads up and doing the best we can.
That's all for this edition. Tune in next time for even more amazing encounters with weather on Full Force Nature. To make sure that you're prepared for the full force of nature, your local forecast is next, right here on the Weather Channel.